Here's a pretty easy test to test this vacuum motor on your Thermac system. What you do is you disconnect this vacuum hose. It goes over to the temperature sensor. Just disconnect this hose. Like I say, it goes to this temperature sensor right here. So once you have it free like this, you can hook up this vacuum gauge. This is a brake bleeder vacuum gauge that you can get at Harbor Freight for about $19, sometimes $15 on sale. If you work alone like I do, this is a great tool because you can bleed your brakes with this all by yourself. I've used it a lot. I like this tool. But anyway, once you get your vacuum hose loose, you connect it up to this vacuum gauge. I'm going to have to take a break for a minute. I work alone, and connect this up, and I'll finish the video. So what you notice once you get your gauge all hooked up to your vacuum line, you notice this damper door's closed right here. And what you want to do is run this up to at least 7 inches pressure. It's hard for me to see, but you notice the door closed. This is a way to check your vacuum motor on your Thermac air breather system to see if it's working. But, yeah, it's holding 7 psi. So after you run that test, you can disconnect the hose from your vacuum meter, crimp off this hose like this, and see if the door remains closed. If it does, you're in pretty good shape. The motor's working the way it should be. Just release this. But yeah, that's a pretty simple test for this vacuum motor. Another test you can do with this air cleaner temperature sensor, otherwise known as an IAT. These are about $80. But what you can do is you can get a thermometer with this all mounted on the car. Make sure the temperature inside here is at least 86 degrees or lower. You can put a thermometer right here by this sensor. You need to get a thermometer that goes up to at least 130, 140 degrees. Set it as close to this sensor as you can. Again, start out with a pretty cool engine, 86 degrees or less. Put everything back together, your air filter, everything. Put your thermometer in here as close as you can get to this sensor. Start the engine up. Watch this driver's side damper door right here. It should be closed as soon as you start the car. As it starts to open up like this, gradually, you need to take your breather cap back off and look at your thermometer. It should be about 131 degrees when this door opens. If it isn't, then you've got an issue with this sensor right here. Again, they're pretty expensive, but yeah, I already ran this test, so it's pretty easy to run that test. Thought that might help somebody. Yeah, on these Crossfire Injection Engines, even though they're fuel injected, it's still considered it's a throttle body injection engine. It's still considered a wet manifold because gasoline is sprayed down on top of these throttle plates, similar to the old carburetor engines. I don't know if anybody's old enough to remember, you used to be able to put your hand over the carburetor to choke it manually. The car would start right up. Although you can't do that on these engines here. It is considered a wet manifold, and one of the biggest problematic areas I had with this, working on this Crossfire, was right here, this stovepipe, because this is an essential part of heating up the air-fuel mixture. Even if you have temperatures of 36 degrees, you can still have throttle plate icing on these things. But yeah, all of this working together here, these damper doors, vacuum motor, IAT sensor, and particularly this being mounted on there correctly and snug up in there, because you've got to warn that you'll have problems with stalling when the engine's stalling, and just pretty rough idle, pretty poor idle. It really relies on this heat riser. These are obsolete now. They don't use that system anymore. But yeah, boy, I'll tell you, this right here will give you a lot of trouble. This not being correct, and this not being able to get heat up in here and heat this mixture really quickly. Actually, you'll find that on really cold days, below freezing, more than likely you're going to find that your Crossfire runs a little bit better than it does on days when there's a lot of humidity, high humidity levels, or a lot of moisture in the air. 'Cause that's where you run into problems with this whole system, is water vapor getting down inside these throttle bodies and up inside here.